Captain Una Park stood on the bridge of the UES Resolve and looked out at the stars. The ship moved through space at high speed, carrying important passengers to an important place. Today was a good day. Today they were going to celebrate friendship. The Resolve was not a warship. It was a diplomatic vessel, built for talking and trading, not fighting. It had some weapons, but not many. Una did not mind. She had spent 15 years in the Navy and she was tired of war. She liked this job better. She liked bringing people together instead of tearing them apart. Lieutenant Do-Wan Lee walked up beside her. He was her tactical officer, a quiet man with sharp eyes. He rarely smiled, but Una trusted him completely. He had saved her life twice during the border wars. "We will arrive at Valora Prime in 6 hours," Do-Wan said. Una nodded. "Good. Is the ambassador ready?" "She has been ready since yesterday." "I think she is excited." Una smiled at that. Ambassador Jasu Han was always professional, always calm. But Una knew how much this mission meant to her. Jasu had worked her whole life to strengthen the bond between humans and Valorians. This celebration was the result of all that work 30 years ago. Humans and Valorians had signed the Friendship Pact. It was more than a treaty. It was a promise. The two species would stand together, help each other, and never abandon one another. In the years since, that promise had been kept many times. Una remembered the stories her grandmother used to tell. In 2341, a terrible plague had swept through human colonies. Millions were dying. Human doctors could not find a cure. They did not understand the disease. The Valorians came to help. They sent their best scientists, their best doctors. They worked day and night. They found the cure. They saved millions of human lives, including Una's grandmother. The Valorians never asked for anything in return. They said that friends do not keep score. They said that helping was enough. Una had never forgotten that. None of humanity had forgotten. She left the bridge and walked through the ship to find Ambassador Jasu. She found her in the observation room. Looking out at the stars with a small smile on her face, Jasu was in her 50s, with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been a diplomat for 30 years, working with dozens of alien species. But the Valorians were special to her. She had lived among them for 5 years when she was young. She spoke their language. She understood their culture. She loved them like family. "Captain," Jasu said when Una entered, "I was just thinking about the first time I saw Valora Prime. What was it like?" "Beautiful," Jasu said. "The cities are built into crystal formations. When the sun rises, the whole planet glows like a jewel. And the people, they are so gentle, so kind. They welcomed me into their homes. They shared their food, their music, their stories. I had never felt so accepted." Una sat down beside her. "I have never been to Valora Prime. I am looking forward to seeing it." "You will love it," Jasu said. "And they will love you. The Valorians admire humans very much. They say we are brave and loyal." Una laughed softly. "I think they are the brave ones. They saved us during the plague." "Yes," Jasu agreed. "And we have tried to repay that kindness ever since. When the Kasari attacked their colonies, we sent our fleet to defend them. When their crops failed, we sent food and supplies. We have stood by each other through everything." "That is what friends do," Una said. Jasu nodded. "That is what friends do?" 6 hours later, the Resolve dropped out of hyperspace above Valora Prime. Una stood on the bridge and stared at the planet below. Jasu had been right. It was beautiful. The planet was covered in crystal formations that caught the light of the sun and scattered it in all directions. The oceans were deep purple. The continents were covered in forests of silver trees. Cities sparkled on the surface, built into the crystals themselves. "Incoming transmission," Do-Wan said. "Put it through." A face appeared on the screen. It was a Valorian, an insectoid being with 4 arms, large compound eyes, and delicate antennae. But there was nothing frightening about the Valorians. Their movements were graceful. Their voices were soft and musical. "UES Resolve, this is Valora Prime Control. Welcome, friends. We are so happy you are here." Una smiled. Thank you, Valora Prime. We are happy to be here. They landed at the capital city and the welcome was overwhelming. Thousands of Valorians had gathered to greet them. They waved banners with human and Valorian symbols woven together. They sang songs of friendship. Children ran forward to offer flowers. Ambassador Jesu stepped off the ship first. A tall Valorian walked forward to meet her. This was Elder Thalos, leader of the Valorian High Council. He was old, his exoskeleton faded with age, but his eyes were bright and warm. Jesu, Thalos said, using her first name. My dear friend. It has been too long. Jesu bowed in the Valorian way, crossing her arms over her chest. Elder Thalos. The honor is mine. Thalos made a sound that was the Valorian way of laughing. No. Today the honor belongs to both our peoples. 30 years of friendship. 30 years of peace and trust. This is something to celebrate. Captain Una followed Jesu off the ship with Dowan close behind. They were introduced to Thalos and other Valorian leaders. Everyone was kind. Everyone was welcoming. That night there was a great feast. Humans and Valorians sat together sharing food and drink. There were speeches about friendship and hope. There was music and dancing. Una found herself laughing more than she had in years. She sat next to a young Valorian named Kira, who was curious about humans. Is it true that you only have 2 arms? Kira asked. Why Una held up her hands. Yes, only 2. How do you carry things? Very carefully, Una said, and Kira made the laughing sound. Later, Elder Thalos gave a speech. He spoke about the history between their peoples. He spoke about the plague and how the Valorians had been honored to help. He spoke about the attacks they had faced together and the battles they had won side by side. Humans are not like other species, Thalos said. When they give their friendship, they give it completely. They do not betray. They do not abandon. They stand with you until the end. We are proud to call them our friends. The crowd cheered. Una felt tears in her eyes. As the celebration continued, Una stepped outside to get some air. The night sky was full of stars. She could see human and Valorian ships in orbit, flying in formation together. It was peaceful. It was perfect. Dowan found her there. Captain, he said. His voice was tense. We have a problem. Una turned to him. What is it? Long-range sensors have detected a fleet entering Valorian space. Over 200 ships. They are not responding to communication requests. Una felt her stomach tighten. Who are they? Unknown. But they just sent a message. Dawan held up his communicator. A cold, harsh voice spoke from it. People of Valora Prime, you have been chosen for harvest. Surrender your planet and your people. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Una stared at the communicator. The celebration music still played behind her, but she could not hear it anymore. All she could hear was her own heartbeat. The peace was over. The war had begun. The alarm screamed across Valora Prime. The beautiful celebration turned into chaos in seconds. The Valorians ran in all directions trying to reach shelters. The music stopped. The lights went dark. Fear spread like fire. Captain Una ran back to the Resolve with Dowan beside her. Her crew was already preparing the ship for launch. She reached the bridge and looked at the tactical display. Her heart sank. 212 enemy ships were entering Valorian space. They were big. They were heavily armed. And they were coming fast. Who are they? Una asked. Dowan pulled up information on his screen. The Kathrani Dominion. They are a conquering empire from the outer regions. They attack weaker species and take them as slaves. They call it harvesting. Una felt sick. Have they ever attacked humans? No, we have never had contact with them. They probably do not know what we are. Then they are about to learn. The Resolve lifted off and joined the defense fleet in orbit. Commander Taiwan Kong was in charge of the orbital defenses. He was a veteran soldier with 20 years of experience, but Una could hear the worry in his voice when he spoke on the communication channel. All ships, this is Commander Taiwan. We have 40 vessels, 20 human, 20 Valorian. The enemy has over 200. We cannot win this battle through strength. We need to hold them off until reinforcements arrive. What reinforcements? Another captain asked. Earth is 2 weeks away at best speed. Then we hold for 2 weeks, Taiwan said. We protect the planet. We protect the people. That is our job? Yuna looked at her crew. They were scared, but they were ready. Dawan was at the weapons console. Dr. Myre Cho, the chief medical officer, was preparing the medical bay for casualties. Pilot Sunho Beek was at the helm, his hands steady on the controls. The Resolve is a diplomatic ship, Dawan said quietly. We have light weapons and thin armor. We are not built for this. I know, Yuna said. But we are here, and our friends need us. The enemy fleet arrived like a storm. The Kathrani ships were ugly dark metal covered in spikes and blades. They did not try to communicate. They did not ask for surrender again. They simply attacked. The battle was brutal from the start. Valorian ships were not designed for war. They were science vessels and exploration craft. They had shields and basic weapons, but nothing that could match the Kathrani firepower. The first wave of enemy missiles tore through 3 Valorian ships like paper. Commander Taiwan ordered the human ships to the front. All human vessels form a defensive line. Protect the Valorian ships. Draw their fire. The human ships obeyed. They were better armed than the Valorians, but they were still outnumbered 5-1. Yuna watched as the destroyer Sol took heavy damage. The frigate Bizan lost its engines. The carrier Incheon launched all its fighters before being hit by a massive plasma blast. Pilot Sunho flew the Resolve through the chaos with incredible skill. He dodged missiles, weaved between explosions, and kept the ship in one piece. Enemy fighter on our tail, Dawan reported. I see it, Sunho said. He spun the ship hard and the fighter overshot them. Dawan fired the rear weapons and destroyed it. Good shot, Yuna said. 3 more coming, Sunho warned. They destroyed those too. But for every enemy they killed, 10 more appeared. The Resolve was hit twice. The shields held, but barely dot down on the planet. Things were even worse. The Kathrani began landing troops. Their soldiers were tall and covered in black armor. They carried weapons that fired burning acid. They marched into Valorian cities and began rounding up civilians. Yuna watched the reports coming in. Valorians were being dragged from their homes. Families were separated. Those who resisted were killed on the spot. They are taking them to transport ships, Dawan said. They will be sent to Kathrani space as slaves. Yuna clenched her fists. Can we stop the transports? There are too many. And we cannot get through the enemy fleet. The battle lasted for hours. The human and Valorian fleet fought with everything they had. Commander Taiwan led charge after charge, trying to break through the enemy lines. Pilot Sunho flew missions until his hands were shaking from exhaustion, but it was not enough. By the end of the first day, half the defense fleet was destroyed. The Kathrani controlled the space around Valora Prime. Their troops controlled most of the major cities. And then they captured Elder Talis. The news came through on all channels. Kathrani soldiers had found the Valorian leader hiding in a shelter with a group of children. He had refused to leave them, refused to save himself. The Kathrani took him to the central square of the capital city. They beat him in front of the cameras. They wanted everyone to see. They wanted to break the spirit of the Valorian people. Yuna watched the footage with tears running down her face. Thalis did not cry out. He did not beg. He stood as tall as he could and looked into the camera. Do not lose hope, he said. Our friends will come. The humans will come. The Kathrani commander stepped into the frame. He was huge, even bigger than his soldiers, with red marks on his armor that showed his rank. His name was Overlord Vexus. Your human pets? Vexus laughed. It was an ugly sound. They are nothing. They sent one small fleet to help you, and we destroyed it. They will not come again. They have abandoned you. He hit Thalis again, and this time the elder fell. Take him away, Vexus ordered. He will be the first one we harvest. The transmission ended. On the Resolve, Una stood in silence. Her crew looked at her, waiting for orders. But what orders could she give? They had 40 ships left. The enemy had almost 200. The planet was occupied. Their friend was captured. "Captain," Dowan said. "What do we do?" Una thought about Phallus. She thought about the Valorian children who had given her flowers. She thought about her grandmother, saved by Valorian doctors all those years ago. She thought about what it meant to be human. "We call for help," she said. "We call Earth, we tell them everything." "Earth is 2 weeks away," Dr. Murray said. "Can we hold that long?" "We have to try." Una walked to the communication console. "But we will not just ask for help. We will demand it. We will tell them what is happening here. We will tell them what the Kethrani are doing to our friends." She opened a channel to Earth Command. She spoke clearly and firmly, describing the attack, the occupation, the atrocities. She did not hide anything. She did not soften anything. "This is Captain Una Park of the U's Resolve. Valora Prime is falling. The Valorians are being slaughtered and enslaved. The enemy believes we will do nothing. They believe we will abandon our friends." Her voice hardened. "Prove them wrong. Send the fleet. Send all of it. Send everything we have." She ended the transmission. Now all they could do was wait. Wait and hope that Earth would answer. Wait and hope that humanity would remember what the Valorians had done for them. Wait and hope that help would come before it was too late. Dowan stood beside her. "Do you think they will come?" Una looked out at the burning ships and the occupied planet below. She thought about everything humanity had been through. All the wars, all the struggles, all the times they had faced impossible odds. "Yes," she said, "they will come. Because that is who we are. We do not abandon our friends. We never have. We never will." She just hoped they would come in time. Admiral Junho Shen was eating dinner with his family when the emergency call came. He looked at his communicator and saw the priority code. Red level. The highest there was. He excused himself and walked to his private office. He played the message from Captain Una. He watched the footage of Valora Prime burning. He saw Elder Thalas being beaten in the square. Junho had been a soldier for 40 years. He had seen many terrible things. But this made his blood turn cold. He made one call after another. Within an hour, the Emergency War Council was assembled. The most powerful military leaders in humanity gathered in a secure room at Sol System Command. They watched the same footage Junho had seen. They listened to the same message. No one spoke for a long time. President Yunwoo Choi entered the room. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had led humanity through 10 years of peace. Now he might have to lead them through war. "I have seen the reports," President Hyunwoo said. "Tell me our options." Admiral Junho stood. "We have 2 choices. We can send a small task force to evacuate our people and leave Valora Prime to the Kethrani. Or we can send everything we have and fight." "What are the risks of fighting?" "The Kethrani are a powerful enemy. We have never faced them before. We do not know their full strength. If we send our fleets to Valora Prime, we leave our own colonies less protected." General Yunji Moon spoke up. She was the head of Earth Marine Forces, a tough woman with scars on her face from old battles. "We also do not know if we can get there in time. The journey to Valora Prime takes at least 10 days at maximum speed. A lot can happen in 10 days. The room was quiet again. Everyone was thinking. Everyone was calculating. Then President Hyunwoo spoke. "The Valorians stood by us when we were dying. They sent their doctors to our colonies. They saved millions of our people. They asked for nothing in return. They called us friends." He looked around the room. "If we abandon them now, what does that make us?" No one answered. "I will tell you what it makes us," the president continued. "It makes us cowards. It makes us traitors. It makes us unworthy of the friendship they gave us." His voice grew stronger. "I did not become president to lead a nation of cowards. I did not take this office to betray our friends." He turned to Admiral Junho. Send the fleet. Send all of it. Junho nodded. Yes, sir, and Admiral? The president's eyes were hard. Make sure the Kethrani understand who they have attacked. Make sure they never forget. The orders went out within the hour. Admiral Junho mobilized every warship humanity had. The first fleet from Earth, the second fleet from Mars, the third fleet from the outer colonies, the fourth fleet from the border regions, the fifth fleet from Deep Space Patrol, 800 warships in total. The largest armada humanity had ever assembled. General Yunji mobilized the Marines. 500,000 soldiers prepared for ground combat. They loaded into transport ships with tanks, artillery, and enough ammunition to fight for months, but it was not just the military that responded. Across human space, people saw the footage from Valora Prime. They saw Elder Thalos beaten in the square. They saw Valorian families being torn apart. They saw their friends suffering, and they were angry. Veterans who had retired years ago came back to service. They showed up at recruitment offices and demanded to fight. Civilian ships were volunteered for the war effort. Cargo vessels were refitted with weapons. Mining ships were converted to troop transports. Factories that made consumer goods switched to making weapons and ammunition. Workers did double shifts. No one complained. No one asked for extra pay. People donated money to support the war. They sent messages of support to the military. Children drew pictures of human and Valorian flags together and sent them to the ships. One old woman came to the recruitment office in Seoul. She was 90 years old, too old to fight. But she brought food for the soldiers. She told them her story. I was a child during the plague, she said. I was dying. My parents were dying. Then the Valorians came. They saved us. She had tears in her eyes. Now it is our turn to save them. Please bring them home safe. The soldiers promised they would. Admiral Junho recorded a message. It would be broadcast on all frequencies when the fleet arrived at Valora Prime. He stood in front of the camera in his dress uniform, his medals on his chest, his face like stone. To the Kethrani Dominion, you have attacked our friends. You have harmed those under our protection. You have made a terrible mistake. He paused. This is your only warning. Leave Valora Prime now. Release all prisoners. Retreat to your own space and never return. If you do this, we will let you go. If you do not, we will destroy you. His voice grew colder. We are humanity. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And we do not lose. You wanted to harvest the Valorians. Instead, you will be harvested. Every ship you have will burn. Every soldier you have will fall. And when it is over, your empire will be nothing but ash and memory. He leaned forward. You should have left our friends alone. The message was finished. The fleet was ready. 800 warships hung in space around Earth, their engines glowing, their weapons charged. Admiral Junho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Vengeance. It was the largest warship humanity had ever built. It had enough firepower to destroy a moon. General Yunji contacted him from the troop transport. Marines are ready, Admiral. 500,000 soldiers waiting to fight. Good, we will need all of them. The fleet captains reported in one by one. Every ship was ready. Every crew was prepared. They all knew what they were going to do. They all knew why. Admiral Junho opened a channel to all ships. This is Admiral Junho to all vessels. You know why we are here. You know what has happened to our friends. You know what we must do? He thought about the Valorians. He thought about Elder Thalos. He thought about all the kindness they had shown humanity over the years. Today we go to war. Not for land. Not for resources. Not for power. We go to war for friendship. We go to war because our friends are suffering, and we will not let that stand. His voice filled with fire. The Kethrani think we are weak. They think we will abandon the Valorians. They think we are afraid. He smiled grimly. Let us show them how wrong they are. Let us show them what happens when you harm the friends of humanity. Let us show them why the galaxy should fear our wrath. He raised his hand. All ships jumped to hyperspace. Destination, Valora Prime, let us bring our friends home. 800 warships activated their hyperspace drives at the same moment. The flash of light was visible from Earth's surface. People looked up at the sky and watched their fleet disappear. They were going to save their friends and heaven help anyone who stood in their way. In the military headquarters, President Yunwu stood alone. He looked at the empty space where the fleet had been. He thought about the young men and women on those ships. He thought about the battle to come. He whispered a prayer for their safety. Then he went to make a speech to the people of Earth. He would tell them what was happening. He would tell them why their sons and daughters were going to war. He would tell them about friendship and loyalty and the things that made humanity worth fighting for. He would tell them that they were doing the right thing, and deep down, he knew it was true. 10 days had passed since the attack began. Valora Prime was broken. The beautiful crystal cities were burning. The silver forests were cut down. The Valorian people were in chains, waiting to be taken away to a life of slavery. Overlord Vexus stood in the capital city and smiled. His soldiers controlled everything. His ships ruled the sky. The few human and Valorian vessels that remained were hiding, too weak to fight back. It was a complete victory. Vexus walked to the prison where Elder Thalus was being held. The old Valorian was in a small cell, his body covered in wounds from the beatings. But he still held his head high. He still looked Vexus in the eyes. Your people will be harvested tomorrow, Vexus told him. You will be the first. I want you to watch as your entire species is taken away. Thalus said nothing. Vexus laughed. You still believe your human friends will come? It has been 10 days. They have abandoned you. They are cowards, just like I said. Thalus finally spoke. His voice was weak but steady. You do not know humans. You do not understand what they are. I understand that they are weak. I understand that they sent a small fleet to help you, and my ships destroyed it. I understand that they ran away and left you to die. Thalus shook his head slowly. They did not run away. They went to get help. And when they come back, you will learn what humans really are. Vexus hit him across the face. Enough, your hope is foolish. Tomorrow you die. He left the cell. He went back to his command center and looked at the reports. Everything was going according to plan. In a few more days, every Valorian would be on transport ships heading to Kathrani space. The planet would be stripped of resources. Another successful harvest. His officer approached him. Overlord, we are detecting some strange readings at the edge of the system. What kind of readings? Hyperspace signatures? Many of them. Vexus frowned. How many? The officer looked at his screen. His face went pale. Overlord, hundreds. There are hundreds of signatures incoming. Before Vexus could respond, the sky turned white. Ships came out of hyperspace in a wave that seemed to go on forever. Human warships, more than Vexus had ever seen. They filled the space around Valora Prime like an ocean of metal and fire. 800 ships. 800 engines glowing. 800 weapons charging. Vexus stared at the tactical display. His confident smile disappeared. Then a message came through on all channels. A human voice, cold and hard as steel. To the Kathrani Dominion. You have attacked our friends. You have harmed those under our protection. This is your only warning. Leave now or face the full wrath of humanity. We do not forgive, we do not forget, and we do not lose. The message ended. Vexus tried to respond, tried to threaten, tried to negotiate, but the humans were not interested in talking. Admiral Junho gave one order from the bridge of the Vengeance. All ships attack. The battle began. The human fleet hit the Kathrani like a hammer hitting glass. Admiral Junho had positioned his ships perfectly. The first and second fleets attacked from the front, drawing the enemy's attention. The third fleet came from above. The fourth fleet came from below. The fifth fleet circled around behind. The Kathrani were surrounded. Their ships were strong, but they were not ready for this. They had expected a weak enemy, an easy harvest. Instead, they got a war. Captain Yuna watched from the damaged Resolve as the human fleet tore through the Kathrani lines. She had spent 10 days hiding, watching her friends suffer, unable to do anything. Now help had finally come. They came, she whispered. They really came. Beside her, Lieutenant Dowan allowed himself a small smile. I told you they would. Pilot Sunho brought the Resolve out of hiding. The ship was damaged, but it could still fight. They joined the battle, flying alongside the human fighters. The space around Velora Prime became a storm of missiles and plasma. Kethrani ships exploded in balls of fire. Human ships took damage but kept fighting. The Velorian vessels that remained joined the attack, adding their weapons to the assault. The Kethrani flagship was the biggest enemy ship, a massive vessel covered in spikes, with enough firepower to destroy a city. Vexus commanded from its bridge, screaming orders at his officers. All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship. Destroy their admiral. But the humans had planned for this. A squadron of fighters led by Pilot Sunho flew straight at the Kethrani flagship. They were fast and small, hard to hit. They dodged through the defensive fire and launched their missiles at the flagship's engines. The explosions crippled the huge ship. It drifted in space, unable to move. Their flagship is disabled, Owan reported. The enemy fleet is losing coordination. Admiral Junho pressed the attack. All ships finished them. The battle turned into a slaughter. Kethrani ships tried to flee, but the human fleet was everywhere. Those that surrendered were taken prisoner. Those that fought were destroyed without mercy. On the ground, it was the same. General Yunji led the marine assault personally. Drop pods fell from the sky like rain, each one carrying a squad of human soldiers. They landed in the occupied cities and immediately began fighting. The Kethrani ground troops were tough, but the human marines were tougher. They fought through the streets with rifles and grenades. They kicked down doors and freed Velorian prisoners. They showed no fear and gave no ground. Lieutenant Dohwan joined a ground team to rescue Elder Thalas. They fought their way to the prison, taking fire from all sides. 2 Marines fell, then 3 more. But they did not stop. Dohwan reached Thalas's cell and broke down the door. The old Velorian looked up at him with disbelief in his eyes. You came, Thalas said. We always come for our friends, Dohwan replied. He helped Thalas to his feet. Can you walk? I will try. They fought their way out of the prison. More Kethrani. Soldiers tried to stop them, but the Marines cut them down. They reached a landing zone where a transport was waiting. Captain Yuna was there. She ran to Thalas and took his hand. Elder Thalas, I am so sorry we took so long. Thalas looked at her. Tears were running down his face. He looked up at the sky where the Kethrani fleet was burning. You came, he said again. You really came. We will always come, Yuna told him. That is what friends do. Back in space, the battle was ending. The Kethrani fleet was destroyed. Some ships had escaped, running back to their own territory, but most were gone. The space around Velora Prime was filled with wreckage. Overlord Vexus was captured on his crippled flagship. He was brought before Admiral Junho in chains. Vexus looked at the admiral with hatred. You think you have won? The Dominion will send more ships. We will come back and destroy you. Junho looked at him calmly. No, you will not. You cannot stop us. We are the Kethrani. We have conquered 100 worlds. And now you have lost this one. Junho stepped closer. You attacked our friends. You tortured them. You tried to enslave them. Did you really think we would let that stand? Vexus said nothing. Here is what will happen, Junho continued. You will be tried for war crimes. Your empire will be dismantled. And you will spend the rest of your life in a prison cell, thinking about the mistake you made. He turned to his guards. Take him away. On Velora Prime, the Velorian people were freed. Human soldiers and doctors worked through the cities, helping the wounded, reuniting families, clearing the wreckage. It would take years to rebuild, but the Velorians were alive. They were free. Elder Thalas stood in the ruins of the central square where he had been beaten. Captain Yuna, Lieutenant Dowan, and Ambassador Jasu stood with him. Above them, human and Velorian ships flew in formation. How can we ever repay you? Thalas asked. Ambassador Jasu smiled. You already have. You saved us during the plague. You stood by us when we needed help. That is what friendship means. You do not keep score. You just help. Thalas looked at the human ships in the sky. We called you friends. Now I know we were right. General Yunji approached and saluted. Elder Thalas, Valora Prime is secure. The Kathrani are gone. You are safe, Thalas bowed to her. Thank you, General. Thank you all. The sun was setting over Valora Prime. The light caught the crystal formations and scattered into 1,000 colors. It was still beautiful, even after everything. Yuna looked at the sunset and thought about what they had done. They had come to save their friends. They had fought an enemy that believed humanity was weak. That enemy was wrong, and now the whole galaxy would know it. 3 months after the Battle of Valora Prime, the Galactic Council assembled for an emergency session. Representatives from 200 species gathered in the great chamber on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. They came from every corner of the galaxy, empires and democracies. Old civilizations and young ones, peaceful traders and proud warriors, they all came to hear what humanity would say. The news of the battle had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Everyone had seen the footage. 200 Kathrani warships against a small defense force. The occupation of Valora Prime, the capture and torture of Elder Thal, Is. And then the human response. 800 warships arriving in a wave of fire. The complete destruction of the Kathrani fleet. The liberation of the Valorian people. The end of the Kathrani dominion as a major power. Some species were impressed. Others were afraid. All of them wanted to know what it meant. Ambassador Jisoo Han walked to the speaking platform in the center of the chamber. She wore a formal black suit with a small pin showing the human and Valorian flags together. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Behind her stood Admiral Jinho Shin, General Yoonji Moon, Captain Yuna Park, and Lieutenant Dawan Lee, the heroes of Valora Prime. They stood in their dress uniforms, their medals shining, their faces serious. The chamber fell silent. Jisoo began to speak. 3 months ago, the Kathrani Dominion attacked Valora Prime. They did not come to negotiate. They did not come to trade. They came to harvest. They came to take the Valorian people as slaves. She let that sink in. The Valorians are a peaceful species. They have no great military. They have no empire. They are scientists and artists and teachers. They pose no threat to anyone. She paused. But they have one thing that made them a target. They have friends. She looked around the chamber. 30 years ago, humanity and the Valorians signed a friendship pact. We promised to stand by each other. We promised to help each other in times of need. We promised that we would never abandon each other. Her voice grew stronger. The Kathrani did not believe that promise. They thought humanity would be too weak to help. They thought we would be too afraid. They thought we would abandon our friends to save ourselves. She shook her head. They were wrong. She told the story of the battle. She told them about Captain Yuna's desperate defense. She told them about Admiral Jinho's fleet crossing the galaxy to save their allies. She told them about General Yuangji's Marines fighting through the streets to free the prisoners. She told them about Elder Thalas, beaten and tortured, who never lost faith that his friends would come. Humanity sent 800 warships to Valora Prime, Jisoo said. We sent 500,000 soldiers. We left our own colonies less protected because we knew our friends needed us more. And we did not stop until every Valorian was free. The chamber was completely silent. The Kathrani Dominion is finished. Their fleet is destroyed. Their leaders are in prison. Their empire is crumbling. They will never threaten anyone again. Jisoo looked around the room slowly. Her eyes moved from one species to another. Let this serve as a message to every power in this galaxy. Her voice became hard as iron. Humanity has many friends. The Valorians, the Deshans, the Malari, the Korra, others who have shown us kindness and stood by us in dark times. We value these friendships. We are grateful for them. We protect them. She leaned forward. These species are under our protection, not because we want to control them, not because we want power over them, because they are our friends. And humanity does not abandon its friends. She raised her hand and pointed at the assembly. If you harm them, if you attack them, invade them, or threaten their existence, we will come for you. It will not be a measured response. It will not be proportional. We will bring every ship, every soldier, every weapon we possess. We will not stop until you are defeated, your leaders are in chains, and your ability to harm anyone ever again is destroyed." Her words echoed through the silent chamber. The Kethrani did not believe us. Look at what happened to them. Their fleet is wreckage. Their soldiers are dead. Their empire is nothing. Let their fate be a lesson to anyone who thinks we are bluffing. She straightened up. Humanity offers friendship to all who seek it in good faith. We want peace. We want trade. We want cooperation. We want to build a galaxy where all species can thrive together. Her voice softened slightly. But harm our friends, and you will face our wrath. This is not a threat. This is a promise. And humanity always keeps its promises. She stepped back from the platform. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then slowly the Valorian representative stood. It was a young Valorian named Kira, the same one who had talked with Captain Yuna at the celebration. "The Valorian people thank humanity for their friendship," Kira said. "You saved us. You fought for us. You bled for us. We will never forget." Other representatives began to stand. The Deshans, the Malari, the Kora, species that had friendship treaties with humanity. They all spoke their thanks. They all expressed their gratitude. Then other species began to speak. Species that had been thinking about attacking their neighbors. Species that had been planning conquests. They suddenly announced that they were interested in peace talks. They were interested in treaties. They were interested in friendship with humanity. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. Aggressive empires pulled back from contested territories. Border disputes were settled. War plans were canceled. The number of species requesting friendship treaties with Earth increased tenfold. New saying spread across the galaxy: better to be a friend of humans than an enemy. Some species grumbled about human power. Some called them dangerous. But no one called them weak. And no one made the mistake of attacking their friends. 6 months after the battle, Elder Thalos came to Earth for the first time. He wanted to see the world that had produced such loyal friends. Ambassador Jassu took him to Sol. They walked through a beautiful garden in the spring sunshine. Cherry blossoms were falling like pink snow. Children were playing on the grass. Thalis watched the children. Human children, running and laughing, full of energy and life. "They are so small," he said. "So fragile. And yet your species is so fierce." Jassu smiled. "We are fierce because we have things worth protecting. Our families, our friends, our homes." Thalos nodded slowly. "I understand now why my people love yours. You are not fierce because you enjoy violence. You are fierce because you love so deeply. Your strength comes from your heart." "That is the only kind of strength worth having," Jassu said. Thalos looked at the garden, at the children, at the beautiful spring day. "When the Kethrani captured me, I told them that they did not understand humans. I told them that you would come. They laughed at me. They are not laughing now." "No," Thalos made the Valorian sound of laughter. "No, they are not." They walked together through the garden. A group of children saw Thalos and ran over, excited to meet a real Valorian. He greeted them warmly, answering their questions, showing them how his forearms worked. Jassu watched with a full heart. This was why they had fought. This was why they had risked everything. Not for power or glory or conquest. For friendship. For the chance to walk in a garden with an old friend on a beautiful day. That was worth fighting for. That was worth protecting. And that was why humanity would always answer when their friends called. Because some things were more important than safety. Some things were more important than self-interest. Friendship was one of them. Loyalty was another. And love was the most important of all. The galaxy had learned that lesson. The Kethrani had paid the price for forgetting it, and humanity would make sure that no one ever forgot again.